Hey, riding side saddle.
Wow, you surprised me.
Sorry. Wow. I have to put my gloves back on. I just got to push that button quick.
Make this fucking snappy.
It's Tammy.
And Lisa.
And it's really freaking cold.
It is -6, and that's without wind
That's
chill.
the air temperature.
Yes.
It is
Fucking cold. Like, cold.
Yeah.
The mobile Jeep has been real cute. The mobile recording studio. It's been cute and novelty-like.
January
until
in Wisconsin hits.
Right now.
Yeah. So we had a blizzard, and then we had negative degrees. It's terrible. Well, the weather is horrible in Wisconsin right now.
I can't even tell you.
Facebook posts of people being on vacation in warm tropical places. Yeah.
And we're in a Jeep.
Yeah, and in our winter coats, so you're going to hear some swish.
Well,
you're going to hear the heater running. You're just going to hear background noise. Sorry, the quality is going to be terrible.
Maybe it will drown out all of the cars that end up giving us grief usually
maybe.
in our recordings.
Yeah, that
it'll
could
be
be.
fine.
It'll be what it is. That's for darn sure. So, yeah, January. We made it through our holiday break and then a couple of weeks extra, actually.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite how we had planned it, but it worked out just the way it was supposed to.
It did.
Yeah.
When I listen back at those snacks,
Yeah.
they are very outdated. So I have to apologize
Sorry
a
about
little
that.
bit for that.
Yeah.
I feel like literally the one I posted this morning started out with ho, ho, ho. I'm like, oh.
It's still the Christmas season-ish. I see Christmas lights up
Whoops.
still here in downtown West Bend.
It's not Christmas season. It is just fucking
It's
cold.
cold.
It is the part of winter in Wisconsin that is like
really
the most
hard.
miserable. January, in my opinion, January, February, and March are really hard.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's no, there aren't any holidays where you get off of work.
No.
Well, some people get Martin Luther King Day off.
I
Not
did.
everybody.
Yeah.
I don't. If the courthouse is open, we're open. So, but there's no long weekends
No.
or I don't know, again, Martin Luther King Day, you do get Monday off, but there's nothing to really look forward to, and it's so cold, and it gets really snowy, and if we're lucky, we get snow. I mean, we haven't had any really until just last weekend.
Well, I feel like that's partly it this year, is that it has been such a mild end to
Yeah.
2023
For sure.
weather-wise that we were slapped in the face.
Oh, yeah. We
Bitch
got
slapped.
Oh, for sure.
hard this week.
I would agree.
So hard.
I would agree.
And then slapped on
Yeah.
the ass on top of
Right.
it with the
Foot
cold.
plus of snow and then negative degrees.
It's been harsh.
Yeah, so we're gonna stop complaining about the weather now, I guess. 'Cause
I'm just observing.
it is a hard winter. It was an easy winter until this last weekend,
Yeah.
then it got to be hard real
Yeah.
quick.
But
So
hopefully it rebounds from there, and we're able to make a couple of good weeks in January where
maybe.
it's not quite
it'll
this
warm up
terrible.
just a little bit. This happens every year. We get a cold snap, then we get the January thaw, and
Yep.
then we get real winter again.
Yep,
So
yep.
it'll be
We'll survive.
this is just the way it is here. Oh shoot, I was gonna say something more about that, but no, I can't remember.
It froze
Dang
right
it.
out of
It
your
did.
brain.
It really did.
That part's
It's
frozen.
gone. It's gone. Anyway.
So we do have to apologize
Yeah.
because we're a little outdated in our snacks.
Yeah.
We needed a little bit of extra time. Tammy got sick.
I still have a cough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever I had, it was wicked. So yeah, I had a really lousy Christmas or New Year's Eve. It hit me
did.
right after Christmas.
Like
So
a full week you were
Yeah.
basically on your butt.
I was on the couch for a week.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah. And then I had a little bit of a health snafu
Yeah.
last week, so we're trying to manage through that and figuring some stuff out
Yeah.
there. But it really just put us back a couple of
did.
weeks.
Yep.
And in the spirit of riding side saddle, that has to be okay.
Yep.
I know the snacks were outdated and people probably wrinkled up their nose a little bit, this should have been a couple weeks ago. But that's just the way it rolls.
It's the way it worked out. So it has to be fine because that's what it is.
That's right.
I think I also think that we needed a little bit of a break.
Mm-hmm.
We had a whole year plus an extra season of constant,
We did.
every week, back to back. I think Todd probably appreciated a little bit of a break too.
Yeah.
And it also, it made me realize, because a couple of people reached out and said how much they like the podcast, and I've been listening, and I really miss you, and I love your laugh, and, things like that. It kind of, because there was a point there where I was thinking, I don't know, maybe we should wrap it up. I'm not sure. People are probably not listening anymore.
I'll be honest.
Why are we still doing this?
I was feeling the same. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It's a lot of effort.
There's a lot of other things going on.
Right. But then when people reached out after we had a little break, it's like, oh, maybe it is worth it.
Well, and I think that's the thing, right? If one of our very first episodes was the ripple of kindness, and I think we kind of draw that through.
Yeah.
We probably talk about it literally every season, and it might not be a tidal wave or tsunami level, and it may never be that, and that's okay.
Right.
But it does impact people.
Right.
And that's the piece that draws me back.
Right.
Honestly.
I agree.
Fine, it's worth it.
Yep.
Fine. It's what Malachi says when he and his mom are fighting and he realizes that he's just not going to win. Fine.
He's giving in.
And then
angrily.
I realized that I say that.
Yeah, you do.
And so does Deidre.
Yep.
So he gets it from a good long lineage.
There's a good source there.
Of finers. Fine. You win this round.
I'm just gearing up.
That.
Oh boy.
Just you wait. I'll come back stronger than before.
Done here.
That's
My
right.
work is not complete.
That's right. So fine.
So fine. Our work is not complete
And
yet.
that's good.
Yeah.
The work that this does for me.
Yeah. It still outweighs the actual work.
So much.
I agree.
It so much does work for my spirit.
Yep.
And for any of the work that I do and you do, the coordination, the recording, the getting it out there when it's supposed to be, honestly, do I do it for other people? Yeah. But I do it for me.
Myself. Yeah.
So fine. On to season 6.
Here we are. -6 degrees in January, sitting in the car.
On to season 6.
Did you have a nice holiday anyway?
I did have a nice holiday.
Good.
As I had mentioned before our break, we did it a little bit differently this year. My brother hosted Christmas and his wife. It was fantastic. It was. I had a couple of things that I needed to bring. We had dinner. We had some visiting. We were out, which is different than what I traditionally have because I usually host.
At your house.
Yeah, but I will tell you the thing that that meant the absolute world to me this year. So that was on Christmas Day. On Christmas Eve, so back up one day, I went to a family gathering with my husband's family. I had to leave early to pick up Liz from work. She had to work on Christmas Eve. And she and I came home. And Deidre, my older daughter, came home relatively the same time. And while we were sitting on the floor wrapping presents, giggling, and having a couple of cocktails and chatting, I realized that this is probably the first Christmas Eve ever that I was able to spend it with both of my daughters.
Really?
Yeah.
Ever? Oh.
Because, like,
when you share your kids, they have different schedules. And...
That's right. So Deidre would always be with her dad on Christmas Eve when she was a little girl.
Yeah.
And then she got married, and they had, Christmas Eve celebrations with her husband's family.
Yeah.
And Liz would be with me sometimes for Christmas Eve, but never with Deidre.
Oh.
And other times she'd be with her dad. And at age 50, right, as a mother, I got to experience my daughters together with me
on the same day on Christmas Eve.
And it like dug to the innermost part of my heart.
Oh.
And it's there. Like
Yeah.
that
really
made
special.
my Christmas.
Oh. That sounds wonderful.
Thank you. It was. What about you?
Yeah, I had a nice Christmas too. The kids all came over on Christmas Day. Christmas Day? Yeah, Christmas Day. Seems so long ago.
It does seem a long time ago.
Yeah, but later in the day. So I like to have Christmas breakfast.
I remember you saying that.
I like to make a breakfast, pancakes with chocolate chips. That's Evan's favorite. And so we all like
your family recipe.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my super secret family recipe that's on the internet. That one.
Yeah.
And but when the kids were little, like we had so many places to be, which at the time felt very overwhelming. But really, what that means is we just had a lot of people to love, and love us back, right? Lots of grandparents and great grandparents were still around, and so that was pretty special. But then when my kids got older, and same sort of thing, they had in-laws and other people in their lives, so trying to manage not just our family traditions, but other people's, and so sometimes you have to let go of some traditions
really
and
hard.
create some new ones.
It's
and so
really complicated.
It does, absolutely. So we had settled on Christmas Day in the morning. People, like all my kids, would come over in their PJs, and we would just have breakfast and hot chocolate and open gifts. And by early afternoon, everybody would leave and go about and fulfill the rest of their obligations.
Sure.
And that was really nice.
Yeah.
Well, then I got married, and Josh really, food is a big thing for him. He loves to cook. I've said it 100 times. He loves to cook. He wants to make a big, fabulous meal, which really means dinner.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't fit with my tradition.
Right.
And he's not a breakfast person. So, that doesn't... So, again, trying to find something that fits, and we're still trying to find the thing that fits.
What works.
So, we had done Christmas Eve in the morning a couple of times. He didn't love it. This year we tried Christmas Eve later in the afternoon. I don't know if that's a good fit either.
On Christmas Day?
I'm sorry, Christmas Day in the afternoon. Yeah, I don't know if that is a good fit. People still have other places to go.
What if you tried to do brunch? He could still make things. There could be some actual
it's
lunch
too early
type
in the
food.
morning for him.
Okay.
He's dinner. He's not a breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Okay.
He's dinner.
All right.
So I think he's going to have to give that up, or we're going to have to not do it on Christmas.
Right.
We'll have to pick a different day.
Right.
And then just have the day of it. And the other hard part is that, so now Hudson is here, and
Naps.
he naps. And if they're out late on Christmas Eve because of family parties and things, then he's not getting to bed on time, which then puts his whole schedule off. And
It's
so,
tough.
we're still working around some of that. And
Yeah, it's tough.
it is. Yeah. I don't love Christmas in January, so I don't really want to do that.
You want to be done with it.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
took my tree down on New Year's Day. I was done.
Done.
Yeah. Even though I was sick, I just wanted that to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I had a really nice Christmas. Everybody came home except for Evan, but we did get to communicate with him, so that was nice. But it just wasn't, we haven't found our thing.
There's
yet.
still a rub.
Yep. We're still trying to figure out what works for everyone.
all right.
So we'll get there.
And you know what? That is going to continue to change.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Cole has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Sarah, at some point, will have a boyfriend. And then grandkids will start having people in their lives. And, it's always changing.
It
so
sure is.
I am unbelievably thankful that we all were able to get together at the same time, minus Evan. Some years he can come home and some years he can't. It just didn't work out this year. So that's how that worked. But everybody else was there, and we all got to be together and hang out, and that was really nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
And in hindsight, I think I was coming down with something at that time. I was so tired, I just couldn't shake it. So I didn't I felt a little low energy that day.
Off.
Yeah. And then the next day I just thought I was tired because of holiday stress, and everyone was over, and by Wednesday I was pretty
Down.
sick. Yeah. So, and then I was sick for really until It was after New Year's.
I was checking in on you every day. Like I
know.
didn't want to hound on you because, you're sick and you're sleepy.
I sent my family up north. I was like, you guys should go away. I'm going to stay home and be sick by myself. And hopefully I'm here when you get back.
Right. You might want to check in every now and again.
Right. I mean, my body will be here. Hopefully the rest of me is too.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yep. So rather than coughing all over everybody, just you guys go up north and get some stuff done. And I just stayed home and took care of myself. But really, there was a point where I was like, I don't know, maybe I should go to urgent care. I really felt that lousy. I never go to the doctor because I just figure my body will take care of itself. Mm-hmm. There was a point where I thought, oh, I wonder.
Did you think you had infection, sinus?
It wasn't a sinus thing. I think more of a bronchitis. It was deep in my lungs. Like even now, I'm still coughing. It's not really a productive cough, but it's still there.
You taste sick.
It does. Yes, like when I cough, I can taste sick. There's that sick taste.
I don't even know what to say about that.
How you don't know what that is.
Sorry.
You really don't know what that is.
I don't know that.
Next time you get a cold, pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel it in other ways. Like I don't taste sick. Unless it's vomit. Then I taste sick.
No, not like that. There's just it's probably like a nasally, like a mucusy, like that taste.
Well, I do have something going on now. I've had a blocked ear since, I don't know, Wednesday.
Ooh.
And I don't have any other symptoms. And now the last couple of days I'm starting to wake up with weird cough and more mucus than
so normal.
I think that
was
the
start of something.
But I certainly don't taste sick.
Well, I hope you don't have to taste it.
Me too.
I hope you don't actually get sick.
Gross.
Maybe you're just fighting something off.
I don't feel ill.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll go for it. We'll go with that.
Go with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so I'm mostly recovered. I'd say probably 90%, 95% recovered.
You look good.
Do I? Thanks.
Yeah, you do.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, girl.
Hey, thanks. I didn't lose any weight, which is astonishing to me because I barely ate.
Aww.
I was just so tired and exhausted. I just didn't have the energy to do more than make a cup of soup.
Yeah,
you know?
fair enough.
Yeah. That's great. So I didn't eat and I didn't lose weight. Yeah.
You don't eat, we're not even going to go.
I'm sure
there.
my cortisol spiked, so there was no way
certain it
for
did.
there to be any weight loss happening.
Right.
My adrenals are taxed to begin with, and then I got sick, which just makes that worse.
Inflammation all over the
of that.
place.
Oh yeah, all of
there's
that
just
happened.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to be sick, I'd like to get some benefit out of it.
Well,
I don't that just doesn't happen for me.
Girl, you look great.
Thanks.
For real.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, now here we are, 2024.
Whew.
Yeah, back at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we promised that we were going to start out season 6 with a book club.
Yeah, a little different.
And it's definitely different.
Uh-huh. You could say that again.
I have been and still am extraordinarily excited.
You are. I had to remind myself of that. I don't even know how many times because I wanted to throw in the towel and I was still on the introduction.
Well, it might be because you've been ill.
Maybe.
Let's say that.
I mean, I did try to read it while I was sick and that wasn't working because I really didn't have the capacity.
Didn't have the capacity to do it.
No. So when I really was like, okay, I have to read this because we need to record an episode. I've got to get some of this book read.
Right.
I had to knuckle down and do it. And even still, I was like, wow, Lisa is excited about it. I'm just going to power through. This is a tough sell, though.
It is. So it is a tough read.
Yeah.
It's probably why I can't read it before bed because it takes a lot of mental capacity to do it. If you don't recall or are just not catching in on the snacks that we had put out, the name of the book is called Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And it is a book around myths and stories of the wild woman archetype. I do adore this book. It is as you said, it's a hard sell. It is definitely a hard read. And I am just 2 or 3 chapters in.
Yeah.
But just even the introduction, recognizing that what she is speaking about is extraordinarily conceptual. This is different than any book that we have read on this podcast before.
For sure.
Those have been very straightforward, very linear,
Yep.
very step 1, step 2, step 3. And even those that were conceptual were very focused on very tactical and concrete concepts.
Right.
This definitely is not that.
No.
It's poetic. It is
It's more of an art.
wordy. It is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of words. And I think
Which probably is because she's a poet, right?
That's
You
right.
said that to me before, which then made perfect sense. Because I was feeling like what just took her a whole paragraph to say, she could have said
Or
in
more.
like 5 words.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And you're right. I think that there's a craft or an art to it
Yeah.
as she's trying to explain it. And perhaps that craft or art doesn't land the same for everybody.
Right.
So she says the same the way I perceive it, she says the same thing a couple of different ways
Yeah.
to get to the same point.
Right. She does repeat herself. So if you don't catch it in the first long wordy paragraph, you'll get it in the second long wordy paragraph, but the words are more normal and not so like big and flowery or a foreign language.
Or abstract.
Yeah.
And she does add a lot of foreign languages because that's her heritage.
Right. She's multilingual, so I
Right.
get that, but
Right.
it's hard for those of us who don't speak that language.
Well, and it's where a lot of this folklore and stories and myths come from.
Yeah.
Like that's where they're rooted from.
Right.
So I can have an appreciation for her like leveraging the language as she's trying to outline like La Loba, for instance.
Right,
like
right.
that is that archetype in that area of the world. That La Loba, the wolf woman, there are archetypes around that concept throughout the world by different names, but the one that she's expressing and communicating about is, South American.
Right. Right. So I think for today, we're just going to get through the introduction,
Cool.
right?
I have if you were to envision us sitting in the -6-degree Jeep, you would be imagining that we're both holding Women Who Run with the Wolves books. And they look so similar.
Because Lisa has embraced tabs.
You
Lots of them.
bet your bippy. I did.
Yeah, they're helpful.
They
You're
are.
welcome. But because, the introduction is 22 pages.
It's long.
It's long. So I think realistically, we'll get through the introduction. Because we wanted to do a really deep dive into this book, it is, like Lisa said, very conceptual, very arty. So we're going to have to read this and then pull out some real life things from it to tie it into a more human experience, because she's really she's kind of out there.
It's very conceptual. It's
Yeah.
very abstract. And
Very abstract.
And it does take work to say, can I understand this and how does it apply to me?
Right.
Right? And
Right.
that's where the work comes in.
Right.
I think what I've appreciated, and as I said, I haven't read through the entire book, but I have noticed a theme that at certain points in the text, she starts asking questions. And that's the point where you can be like, all right, so let me make sure I understand this, and then ask myself some of these questions, and then those strings draw through. Like, okay,
I see what you're getting
I
at.
can get this.
Right.
I see how this applies.
So probably we'll get through 1 chapter per episode in season 6. We might double up on a couple of chapters because there are some that are a little shorter, but most of these are more than 15 pages. Some are as many as 50 pages.
They're hearty.
Yeah. So
It's like a big bowl of beef stew.
I don't know if that's true, but it's hearty, all right. Are you trying to be arty? Was that you're trying to be conceptual?
No.
And abstract?
I'm just saying every spoon is going to have some, it's going to have something on it. It's not just brothy.
No.
It's stew.
It's stew. Yeah, it's pretty thick and meaty. So we won't be breezing through this one. It's probably going to take, if not the entire season 6, pretty close to the entire season.
But that's the awesome part of this, and that's the part that I'm so excited about is these are the things, this is where the work is done, right? As opposed to, hey, a linear, do this, do that, do
Play
this.
this game.
Right, right. Give them these
Assign
cards.
chores.
Right.
Yeah.
This is, how does this apply to my life? Not superficially, but in the depths of who I am. And girl, I like to swim in that pool.
You do like to swim in that pool. You do. So I'm on page 2 of the introduction. She talks about how the modern woman is a blur of activity. She is pressured to be all things to all people. The old knowing is long overdue. That's what this whole book is about.
Yeah,
the old knowing.
It is.
Yeah.
Like coming back to the instinctual part of what makes feminine.
Right.
The difference, the delineation between masculine and feminine in that very foundational place. Not the way it is now, right? Because honestly, there's not much difference in behavior. They've gotten very blended.
I mean, we talked about that, right, in a different episode, how women in the 1950s and 1930s were upset with their spouses for the very same things that we get upset with them now, right? Why do I have to be the one to do all the things all of the time? Why am I the one who can notice that the garbage needs to go out or the bathroom needs to be cleaned, or right? It's all the same complaints. Nothing's really changed in that way.
No, right. Though I don't know that that's what I'm trying to say. What I think I'm trying to say, and it's not coming through very well, is if you look at a man and a woman today, like conceptually, we both go to work. We both care for children. We both run a household. At the high levels, not the nitty gritty, because sometimes that's where like the differences come in. But at a high level, like there aren't specific roles that are dedicated to like women and men anymore. We all work. We all earn money. We all, have to pay the piper in kind of the same ways.
Then why am I the only one cleaning the effing bathroom?
You need to raise yourself up a level. But do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Like
I'm
from
teasing.
a societal or a overculture perspective, it doesn't matter.
So the hunter-gatherer, like men and women, are both going out and going to work and being the hunter-gatherer.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the caretakers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ideally. But the concepts here are saying fundamentally, way, way, way down, beyond overculture, beyond societal expectations, beyond familial expectations, how you were raised, way, 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 thousands of years before that, hundreds to thousands of years. The feminine nature was specific and unique to female. And there were certain characteristics of that were revered and
Also
honored
feared.
And honored, like, and we've lost a lot of that. It's still there. It's still deep in there.
So this goes beyond wearing dresses and gloves and carrying, a tiny little purse.
Way
and,
past
right,
that.
a parasol. It's not
Way
any
before
of that. Right.
Way before that.
Right.
Way before that, when as the female, there were like I've been talking about this recently. There is an aspect of being a woman that brings along with it the innate, to the core responsibility of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be bringing babies into the world, right? That's creation in its best
it is.
form.
Right.
But it's
Literally
also
made to do that.
right.
Yeah.
Right. But it's also creation in other ways, right? It's bringing ideas to fruition. It's having intuitive nature. It is like having knowing that is not necessarily overt or seen. And those are the core things of being a female, the instinctual part, way before society impacted what being a good woman looks like. This is way before that.
Yeah.
And that is what that's what she's diving into, to say, it's there. You have it. You just,
It's really the innate gift.
yes. Yes. It's interesting, as I've been reading this, one of the things that kind of keeps coming to my mind is a conversation that I had with my dad before we started writing Side Saddle. And we were driving, I don't remember where, it doesn't matter. We were driving along and he said, well, why are you doing this? And I said, well, because I feel like there's just things about women that like get taken for granted, or it isn't talked about, or isn't seen, and it's really important to be able to have those conversations. He's like, all right, like what? And I gave him some examples, some of the things that we talked about in our episodes already. And he's like, all right, I mean, okay, but don't you think men experience those things too? And I said, sure, men do. Men do experience some of those things too, right? Where they're not seen as individual, or maybe culture has, or society has required things of them that that maybe society or culture shouldn't require from them. Very similar to women. And as I read this book, and it is specific and very intentional to the spirit of women, it makes me wonder, it makes me remember that conversation and apply this to men too, in some way. And there's going to be unique nuances that are different because men and women are different.
Right.
But the core of this, like the introduction, talks about the bones, which conceptually are the deepest part of yourself. Well,
the most indestructible part, she says.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and men have that too, right? This isn't just a, women have been covered up solely. That's not true.
Right.
Men have been covered up too.
Sure.
And those instinctual, important parts of themselves have been left to crack and dry, right?
Right.
So that's been an interesting thing to kind of overlay for me as well.
Yikes. This is going to be really deep, I think.
So at the beginning of the book, she starts talking about, as you had said, modern woman is a blur of activity. She's pressured to be all things to all people. And then she starts comparing it to like the wolf, right? She grew up in a situation where she was very, very, very connected to nature.
Right.
And I think that drew a lot of her instincts into herself and made them very clear for her. I imagine her as a young girl just spending hours and hours and hours and hours out in the wilderness by herself and really coming into a place of oneness with nature. And it made me feel a little sad that I didn't have. I mean, I did have experience. We lived in the country, and I did play in the woods and all of those things, but the way she explained it was that
She was a little more free.
she was, and it became a part of who she is,
Right.
and how she lives.
It was also several decades ago when we let our kids go outside and play
Yeah,
without being supervised.
right.
Where, you could just call and they'd come home for dinner, and you
Right.
didn't worry about them until they didn't come home for dinner. And, that rarely, if ever, happened. And it was a completely different time.
It was.
Kids were allowed to learn and explore on their own, which is so empowering.
Mm-hmm.
And our environment isn't set up for that anymore.
No, it's not. I agree with that. She was comparing the feminine, healthy wolves with healthy women, and they have certain characteristics that they share. Keen sensing, playful spirit, a heightened capacity for devotion, inquiring, possess great endurance and strength. They're deeply intuitive, intensely concerned with their young, their mates, and their pack. Constantly changing circumstances, they're adapting to those, and fiercely, some of these words I can't even pronounce.
I know.
I'm going to be very honest.
Yeah.
You're much smarter at words than I am, but stalwart
Yeah.
and very brave.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, that resonated with me, to see the connection between nature and, in this situation,
Wolves.
the wolf,
Yeah.
and like the innate parts of who I am as a woman. If I am removing this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is how women are supposed to act, and if you're good as a female in society,
Right.
it kind of shoves a lot of those types of things to the side.
Well, she talks about how women's issues of soul cannot be treated by carving her into a more acceptable form as defined by an unconscious culture. Nor can she be bent into a more intellectually acceptable shape by those who claim to be the soul bearers of consciousness. It's the exact opposite.
Right. It is.
Yeah.
It's a little dirty. It's a little dirty as in messy.
Right.
It isn't as proper, perhaps.
Right. It's wild. Right? It's not refined. It's wild.
So, so as she was sharing her own experience and kind of the timeline that she grew up in, she talked about the post-World War II generation, and that's really, in her experience, where it was a time when women were infantilized and treated as property. They were kept as fallow gardens. They didn't dance. It was barely tolerated. And my dad comes in when I read this part. And yes, this was women's experience, right, at that time. I don't know that it was any much less different for men, right? The industrialization was happening.
Different,
the
but the same,
standardizations were taking place.
Yeah.
This is how you behave, and this is how you act.
This is how you take care of your family.
Yes.
These are the jobs you have to have.
Yes, this is your role now.
Right.
Right? I think things shifted quite a bit
For everybody.
for everyone.
Yeah.
At that over culture, or that societal expectation, required you to become more refined. It required a sense of reservation as opposed to boisterousness, perhaps, or uncivilized aspect. It removed, I guess the way I perceived it, it removed the wild parts and like classified those as inappropriate. We don't do that
Right.
now.
Right.
We may have done that in the previous generation because that's the way life was then, but we don't do that
now.
anymore.
Right. This isn't the Wild West anymore.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
And
therefore, you are not wild anymore.
And I can see that.
Right.
Like, I can see that distinct shift.
Excuse me. Right. I agree. I mean, a lot of things changed post World War One and World War Two.
Agree.
Yeah,
Agree.
literally, the world changed.
And industry. Like,
Right, the whole world changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not a history buff.
Mhm.
I'm not in tune with all of the historical
Like the timeline.
points in time.
Yeah.
But I can conceptually see that was a really significant
the
shift.
Industrial Revolution happened.
Yes.
Yeah. And everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The way we eat, the food we eat, how we buy our food, the like times we eat, the time, how we spend time together as a family. It all changed.
Well, right, because prior to that, I'm imagining most everything was pretty much handled very, very individualized, farms and gardens and
we would say more organic now.
right.
Prepackaged food wasn't really
It wasn't
a
a thing.
You went to your local butcher if you lived in town, maybe. Right.
Maybe.
Right. Or you butchered your own.
Right.
If you lived in the country.
Right. As opposed to running into the market quick and buying your vegetables and your meat products and your
Right.
canned goods and canned goods. Like
That wasn't a thing either. Cereals and
right. Right.
Yeah.
So in order to purchase all of those market goods, then you had to work.
Right. But you also had to work because it wasn't sustainable to be on a farm anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mhm.
The Industrial Revolution was everybody, the things that we made to make our lives easier meant more people had to be in factories working in order to produce those things. Right.
And in turn make the money to buy them.
Right.
Right. And I guess that's my point. Like right there is the pivot to be able to say, pre-industrial revolution era, like you did what you needed to do, and a lot of things that you did, I shouldn't say most, a lot of things that you did from a female perspective probably had an ounce of intuition associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to post-industrial timeline revolution, to say no, everybody does it this way now. Do you know what I know? Do you know what I mean? Like things, I think
Don't think about it. Don't feel about it.
unique.
Just do it.
Yes.
We all get up at this time. We all go to work. You
Yes,
punch
you
in.
punch
You do
the
your
clock.
job.
Mom's job is this. Dad's job is this. You just do your thing. The kids do this. Like, and I know I'm generalizing.
For sure.
I do not intend to
Right.
like make a general statement that is full truth.
Right. For everybody.
Right.
Right.
But I suspect there was a huge swing.
Well, it became, I mean, the hamster wheel started.
Mm-hmm. That.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So you're right. Living more as you were expected to live, and less intuitively or intentionally, maybe. You just do what you have to do. It's time to make the donuts, so get up and make the donuts.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. Don't feel about it. Don't dream. Don't
Just
wish.
do it.
Just do it.
Right. Just do it. This is your job. Just
do it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then you know what that leads to. She's talking about how about a woman and or a wolf running into the woods or the forest or the desert in the snow, things like that. And when we pick up her trail, it's typical of women to ride hard to catch up, to clear off the desk, clear off the relationship, clear out one's mind, turn a new page, insist on a break the rules, stop the world, for we are not going on without her any longer. And the her she's referring to is that
The
soul,
woman.
the wild
Yeah.
woman.
Right.
Because we did all of those things that we were supposed to do, right? We made the donuts, we got up, we did the things, we didn't think, we didn't feel, we did all of that and realized how miserable.
It's empty.
Right.
Like it's missing
Right.
the whole inside.
Right.
I know what I'm supposed to do, but I am not
But
fulfilled.
I'm not living.
Right.
This is not what I came here to do.
That. Tammy says that all of the time.
This is not what we came here to do.
Right.
So that's when
What page are you on?
I'm on page 6. Clear off the desk, clear off the relationship. Now we just start clearing the decks, right? I am not living the way I was meant to live. I'm going to clear out everything, and I'm going to find the way I was meant to live.
I'm not fucking doing this anymore. This is bullshit.
Ain't gonna do it. Right. It's the rooster.
God dang it,
The dead
Chester.
rooster.
Chester,
I ain't gonna do it.
If you knew how impactful you had been in our lives, so impactful.
Right.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Exactly.
So,
Sorry, I have to finish that.
Please.
She says, once women have lost her and then found her again, they will contend to keep her for good. Once they've regained her, they will fight and fight hard to keep her. For with their when their creative lives blossom, their relationships gain meaning and depth and health. Their cycles of sexuality, creativity, work, and play are reestablished. They're no longer marks for the predations of others. They're entitled equally under the laws of nature to grow and thrive. Now their end of the day fatigue comes from satisfying work and endeavors. That's what we came here for.
that.
Right.
Not that I
from
don't
being
want
shut-
to invest myself and work hard. I want to. I want to invest myself and work hard in something that
is satisfying.
matters.
Right. So their end of the day fatigue comes from satisfying work and endeavors, not from being shut up in too small mindset job. No, not from being shut up in too small a mindset, job, or relationship. They know instinctively when things must die, when they must live. They know how to walk away, and they know how to stay. So we're in the introduction of the book. That's what
But
she
that's
wants
the core
to get
of the
at.
book.
Right. Which is a lot of the things that we talk about on Writing Side Saddle.
It is. It is. And that it wasn't an epiphany because I knew it already. But as I started to dive back into this book, I'm like, God damn. Like, we talk about this stuff all of the time.
Yeah.
We could pick every single episode and talk. And we're talking about women who run with wolves,
Right.
just in a different language,
Right.
just in 2024, middle-aged women in, southeastern Wisconsin.
Right. I actually, when I was reading this, Mary came to mind
Yeah.
a number of times.
Yeah.
Even in that section that I just read, the clearing the desk, clearing relationships, clearing it all, and getting quiet and still with
Really
herself.
deep. Yes.
Right. Doing her soul work, because that's what she came here to do.
Yep.
Mary, you called it a long time ago. You said she was wild. She is.
She is.
She's not wild in the way we would in 2024 describe someone who's wild.
Crazy or out of control.
No,
Not in any
she's
way.
not like that kind of
Right.
wild. She is a wild woman, though.
Yeah, she is.
Mm-hmm.
I fully agree with that, and I think that if she were sitting here right now, she would have a grin from
She
ear
would
to
giggle.
ear, with just
Absolutely.
like fullness and pride,
For sure.
because
She knows it.
she does.
Yeah.
and that's
Mhm.
good.
It is good.
So along that line, because she kind of says things in different ways. So I just back one page, I did make a note around being able to sense the wild woman
Yeah.
when she comes in. And I chose to just jot down a couple of ways. She gave some examples about how women traditionally start to sense the wild woman aspect kind of coming through the fog, I guess, in their everyday life. And I just wrote down a couple of things for me. Like, I know that I am reaching that core part of myself when I'm stirred with deep emotion. Like, and it happens probably more regularly than, I'd like for everybody to see. But that deep emotion, like, that means you have hit me.
Yep.
You have hit me to the core. Or I am just stricken in awe, right? That's wild woman coming through to me.
Sure.
And maybe a little bit more tactical from the perspective of like having having new ideas and being able to vision them and see them come to fruition, or following a daydream like you and I had talked about a few weeks ago, where it like
that was a beautiful
we
daydream.
can create, we can see it. It's there as if it were a reality right in front of us. And that is when that really instinctual part of me is lighting up and say, hey, I'm here.
Yeah. Right.
I'm here. Clear the decks, bitch.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm coming in.
I know. We are already at 50 minutes here, and we're on page 8 of the introduction. We haven't even gotten to the end of the introduction, and we're about out of time. So that I think really is the basics of what this book is about. When I was reading parts of that, I would get excited. Oh yeah, I can really get into this. When she's talking about how without this soul, and that's really what she's getting at, the soul of being a woman. Without her, women's eyes are closed. Large parts of their days are spent in semi-paralyzing, wishful thinking. Without her, women lose the sureness of their soul footing. They forget why they're here. They hold on when they should leave. They take too much or too little or nothing at all. Like all of the things we talk about, that's what happens when you lose sight of her. And her is you.
Yeah. It's the core of you.
Right. And that's what this whole book is about. So she's very, very, very wordy. It is not an easy read. I guess all I can suggest is if you are going to read along, just remember Lisa's really excited about this. I had to remind myself several times because it was not an easy read. So the introduction is 22 pages, and that's just to introduce the book.
Right.
She is very wordy. She's a poet. She loves words. She loves language.
Stories.
She's multilingual.
Yes.
So you just got to stick in. Lisa, you actually had a really good bit of advice when we were talking about this in our planning session.
I don't even remember what
sometimes, because I said sometimes I've had to read a paragraph 4 or 5 times, and you said maybe you just don't go back and read it. You just keep going, because she'll get around to it again. She'll make her point in another way again, because she does use so many words.
Well, and I think in part, her multilingual aspect of her is deeper than language, right? I think it's resonance. So maybe one way that she says it doesn't resonate with you.
Yeah.
And that's the paragraph that you were
reading over and over.
I have no idea what she said, so I guess I have to go back and read that.
Right.
But it didn't resonate. It didn't tap your soul.
Right.
But she's going to come back and she's going to say it in a different way, and then you're going to be like,
now I get it.
Yeah, that speaks to my soul, as opposed to the first way.
Right.
And you can bring those across in different ways. Not everyone is going to hit everybody's soul.
Right.
So keep going.
Just keep going. Just forget that paragraph and keep going.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
And honestly, not that I'm an expert at this by any means, but the introduction and the first couple of chapters, I've read a couple of times now, at different points in time. And I feel like they resonate or they hit differently every time that I read them. So maybe this is not a book that you are like, yep, put that back in the bookshelf. I'm done. I'm done reading that book. I'm not sure that that's the kind of book that this is.
That's excuse me, that's interesting, because it's a hard read. I don't know, I'm just being honest. I don't know if I would pick this up again.
Yeah, I would.
But I've not read the whole thing, so I may feel differently after.
All right.
I've only read through chapter 1.
Fair enough.
So I'm judging a book before I've actually read it, which isn't fair.
By the introduction?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is, a lot of it is just because it's so wordy.
Yeah.
Parts of it I was really excited about too. And I was like, oh, now I get it. Now I see why Lisa loves it. And then the next 6 paragraphs droned on, and I was like, what am I doing?
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. So it is a hard read. It just is. But the basics of this, I think, are really important. To your point, Lisa, there's really good stuff in here. You just got to get through it.
It's the core.
Yeah.
It's the core of who we are.
Right. You just got to get through it. Just
Yeah.
stick with it. Just remember, Lisa's really excited about it, and just keep reading.
God damn it, Lisa. All right.
Just keep reading.
All right.
Okay. So that's the end, I think, for today.
Yep.
We'll be back with chapter 1,
Yep.
and we'll really just, the next episode will just be chapter 1. I'm sure there will be plenty of things for us to talk about. So it's not just us, quoting the book all of the time, but the idea behind this was for us to read the book and then also relate it to our own lives. So I think it will really not be that different than what we have done the last 5 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Okay. So till next time then.
See you later.
Toodaloo.